Okay, when it comes to the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case, I didn't think we'd ever be talking about this case again. I thought it was over. I thought it was done with. But now the story has come full circle. Now, for those of you who don't know who Amber Heard and Johnny Depp is, I just have one thing to say to you. Welcome back from your coma. A lot has changed. This man you see on the screen is Dan Wootton. Now, Dan Wootton wrote this article calling Johnny Depp a wife beater. Now, the source for that information was Amber Heard. Then Dan Wootton went on a personal campaign to get Johnny Depp fired because of these allegations from Johnny Depp's ex. He first started attacking J.K. Rowling for employing Johnny Depp, calling him a wife beater. Johnny Depp was then fired from the Fantastic Beasts movie franchise because of this article calling him a wife beater. Now, Johnny Depp sued the Sun for publishing Dan Wootton's article because he claimed that it was defaming him. Now, Johnny Depp lost that lawsuit where the judge in England said that Johnny Depp was a wife beater. So, Johnny Depp sued his ex-wife for $50 million in the United States. And we all know how that turned out. Johnny Depp was able to prove that his ex-wife was lying about the abuse. Then Dan Wootton found himself in the headlines where his ex-partner then made some crazy allegations against him. Now, because of the allegations, Dan Wootton had a real concern he was going to be canceled. So here's his pitch to the public. Don't cancel him.
I, like all fallible human beings, have made errors of judgment in the past, but the criminal allegations being made against me are simply untrue. I would like nothing more than to address those spurious claims. I could actually spend the next 2 hours doing so, but on the advice of my lawyers, I cannot comment further. But I have been thinking much over the past few days about the current state of social media, where any allegation can be made in an attempt to get someone cancelled, but it is impossible to defend yourself against thousands of trolls. That said, I am coming on air tonight with a lot of humility too. I think being in the middle of this witch hunt has made me think a lot about the sort of journalist and broadcaster I aspire to be. One focused on the massive political threats facing this country, not on personal attacks. I mean, who doesn't have regrets? Should I be cancelled for them many years later? Or do you accept that I have learned and changed?
Now, you got to see the hypocrisy here. Dan Wootton now crying because his ex is making unfounded allegations against him, getting him fired from his jobs, but he was the same one who was doing it to Johnny Depp just a few years ago. Dan Wootton was suspended over the allegations. Anyway, Dan Wootton was cleared of any wrongdoing and the police dropped their investigation. Now, Dan Wootton has learned the lesson that we have all learned since Johnny Depp, and that's just allegations alone shouldn't be enough to destroy your life. And now he's unfortunately run up into the same situation that Johnny Depp ran into. You got an ex with an axe to grind, and they can make whatever allegations they want and destroy your life. So as you can see here on Ground News, Dan Wootton apologizes for part in Johnny Depp and Amber Heard headache. Now, what I love about Ground News is you get to see how it's covered by the media. And like the Daily Record says, Dan Wootton issues groveling apology to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And even the right-leaning Telegraph, Dan Wootton apologizes to Johnny Depp and Amber Heard over the article. Now at Ground News, I get coverage details. How many articles are published about this story? A story summary and comparison. I also get links to all the articles. I also get the bias distribution, if it's a right-leaning or left-leaning source, and then I also get ownership. Who owns the source? And for the upcoming US elections, you have the new election blind spot page, what allows you to see what stories are being covered heavily on the right side and heavily on the left, specifically when it comes to the presidential election. Now, if you like being fully informed, go to ground.news/Nate for 40% off unlimited access. That's 40% off unlimited access. Ground News is an amazing source that's going to help you get around the media bias. Again, go to ground.news/Nate to get 40% off unlimited access. The link is in the description and in the pinned comment below. Thanks to Ground News for sponsoring this video. With all that context, let's watch Dan Wootton and Megyn Kelly. He's going to apologize to Johnny Depp.
You were in kind of an interesting spot there because, I don't know, maybe some people normally would have expected you to kind of take his side, but you were much more like Amber Heard is brave and, I stand by my reporting that he was an alleged abuser. And now you say you want to issue an apology to him. Why?
Now, I totally expect Dan Wootton to say, I'm not apologizing for writing the story. What I'm apologizing for is advocating for Johnny Depp to be fired because of allegations made by an ex-spouse. That's what I'm apologizing for. I shouldn't have gone on and said he should be fired from Fantastic Beasts. He shouldn't work again in Hollywood. He's a wife beater. I should have said, here are the allegations being made, and just left it up to whatever happens, happens. But because I went out and told people to fire him, that is why I'm apologizing for Johnny Depp. That's what I expect Dan Wootton to say. But let's see what he says.
Yeah, so it was interesting. The court case in the UK, even though Amber was giving evidence, it was actually me who was being sued. So she was giving evidence to support our case because she knew if she won here, that would help her case in the US.
Now, this makes sense why Amber Heard was so helpful in the UK lawsuit. A lot of people believed it was essentially Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, but it wasn't. It was Johnny Depp versus the Sun. And she was giving all that evidence because she said, well, hey, he's suing me in the US, so if I win here or the Sun wins here and says that I've been abused, then that's going to help me in the US case, even though it actually didn't. So I don't know, it's a little interesting tidbit for those of us who watch the case end to end.
Although that didn't end up happening. Now, I want to be really clear that what I'm about to say is not designed in any way to pile more heartache or difficulties onto Amber Heard. Remember, she didn't want to be in court either, Meghan. It was Johnny who decided to take the case against me in the UK and her in the US. But what I do want to do is apologize to Johnny for ever getting involved in the ins and outs of his personal and clearly very toxic relationship.
Now, that is not an apology at all. See, even me as a YouTuber, if I have Amber Heard back then, at that time, would have come to me and said, hey, Johnny Depp is doing this to me, and I want to give you the exclusive story, then what I would have done is I would have ran with that story. I have a first-person account of a famous star's significant other who is saying something happened to them. So yeah, I would have gone with that story. What Dan Wootton did was go above and beyond and went and tried to get him fired from all his jobs because of the story. See, reporting the story, no one can blame you for doing that. Anyone in this space would have run with the story, but not everyone in the space would have gone and then advocated for him to be fired from all of his employment based on unfounded allegations. And that is what he should be apologizing for. But Dan Wootton still believes Amber Heard. That's why he can't really apologize to Johnny Depp. And I'm just going to keep it real. He's only saying these words out his mouth that he's calling an apology because he knows that most of the people who support him are Johnny Depp fans, and that if he loses the support of those fans, that he probably will lose his career. So this is a way for him to try to have it both ways. I can still say I support Amber Heard, but I'll apologize to Johnny Depp with honestly, a non-apology.
I have now seen, Meghan, and we've spoken about it during the first hour, just what can happen when an ex has such an axe to grind, is so actuated by malice, that they will make up terrible things designed to destroy your career and destroy your life. Now, by the way, I'm not saying that that's what Amber did, but we don't know, do we? And it was
that's what the jury said. That's what the jury in the...
Of course, but the judge in the UK made a different decision. So I think you could say it was a split decision.
So there it is. He's not apologizing to Johnny Depp at all. He's trying to save his career. And he still believes Amber Heard's allegations. That's why he says it's kind of a split decision, blah, 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 blah. It's not a split decision. Everyone knows, because everyone who watched the trial saw the evidence for themselves. They didn't have to have a jury or a judge tell them what they saw. We saw someone get on a stand and lie poorly. We saw the evidence, and the evidence supported Johnny Depp. So this the UK judgment was the real true judgment, and it's 50-50, is laughable. But Dan Wootton, again, like I'm saying, he's not apologizing to Johnny Depp. He's trying to make an excuse so he can save his career.
But it wasn't my role to get involved. If Amber believed there had been abuse in that relationship, there was a criminal process she could have gone through, and there was a legal process. that she could have gone through. I think the problem is I got involved in the carnival of commentary. And actually, it was in a really unwitting way, Meghan, because my column wasn't even about Johnny Depp. It was actually about J.K. Rowling. You know, I absolutely love J.K. Rowling now. She's one of my heroes because she stands up for biological sex and she's taken on the woke mob. But at the time, do you remember she was leading the charge in the Me Too movement and saying that all women should be believed? All women should be believed, no matter what. That was J.K. Rowling.
I don't remember her being one of those.
See, so Meghan had to go and check him. I don't remember J.K. Rowling being one of those. Now he's just lying, just making it up, right? Hey, well, I was actually going after the Me Too movement. No, here it is. How can J.K. Rowling be generally happy to cast a wife beater Depp in film? He's advocating that Depp be canceled because of Me Too allegations that now we know to be false. The same thing that happened to him. They said he should be canceled for Me Too allegations that were false against him. But he doesn't want to say that. He doesn't want to admit that. Even though Megyn Kelly's telling him, we know you're full of shit. And that's why she said, I don't remember all that. But she's got to be nice because she's interviewing the guy.
She was. But then she didn't sign up to that when it came to Johnny Depp. So I was calling out, actually, my column was about calling out the hypocrisy of J.K. Rowling. Then, unfortunately, and this does happen on newspaper websites, a headline was put on the column that described Johnny Depp as a wife beater. That was never written by me. It didn't appear in the print newspaper, but you can imagine all hell broke loose as a result of that. But I think one of the big issues that we have now, Megyn, in the culture war is that so often we dig deep into our trenches. We don't take a moment to look back at what we've done and think, actually, was that a mistake? And I guess I've had the time to do that over the past 6 months. And I've thought a lot about it. And I do think I was wrong to ever get involved. I don't think it was my business. And I think all I did was add extra heartache to what was clearly a very troubled, very toxic relationship. Do I think Johnny Depp is a perfect guy? Absolutely not.
I don't think even he would argue that.
No, but I have lots of regrets over that. And I don't think enough journalists talk about their regrets sometimes. So yeah, I was definitely wrong. It's something I wish that I hadn't done, even though I would defend myself in saying it was very unwitting. Do you know what I mean? I wasn't expecting to become the guy to go against Johnny Depp at all. But I think now I know that you cannot just trust the word of an ex. You can't, because some exes, because I now know from personal experience, my ex was prepared to do anything to destroy me, Megyn, anything. Going to the police, making up stories, posting on X. He was prepared to do anything. So I just feel like when relationships like this go wrong, it should be down to law enforcement to make the decision, not social media, and not the media itself. So I was definitely wrong on that.
So Dan Wootton is apologizing for writing the story initially. But like I keep saying, if you're in this business and people tell you things and you have first-person accounts, this person, Amber Heard, who was his wife, is telling me this story, then I understand a reporter writing it up saying, hey, this is what the wife is alleging. But he doesn't want to apologize for the fact that he was the one going around trying to get the guy canceled. He's now saying that he wasn't. He's trying to deflect. I wasn't trying to get anybody canceled, but that's just not true. He was happy to try to get the guy canceled. He advocated for it. He fought for it. The guy was canceled. And now when the same thing happens to him, it's like, well, you know, nobody should be canceled because of these allegations. Well, it's great to know now, but you dropped the ball before. So let me know how you feel about Dan Wootton's apology. Now, I'm going to say it. I don't think this is an apology at all. I think it was BS. Dan Wootton, he didn't apologize for anything. Only thing he said is, I wish I didn't write the story. But the apology isn't about writing a story, because everyone wrote that story when it first came out. The apology is about advocating for him to be fired, for Depp to be fired from his employment based on accusations alone. Just like he was fired from his employment based on accusations alone. And as you can see, he never even acknowledged that. He never even said that. So this is an apology. This is an excuse because he wants you to be fooled into continuing to watch this show and continuing to be part of the Dan Wootton platform. But I'm not as easily fooled. So tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section. Tell me if you believe this was a great apology from Dan and I'm being too hypercritical. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to all that great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer and I'm out of here. Peace.